it's live right now. Like, it's showing your desktop. All right, I'm gonna pause it.
So it should be showing that Hangout window.
Yeah. Sweet.
Cool.
So I would just like to announce that I have the live stream app on my iPhone, and of course, you know, I have it to where it subscribes to the PhotogTV live stream channel. So if you guys are on the road or you're not near a computer and you have an iPhone, get the live stream app. You can subscribe to us, and it'll send you a notification as soon as we go live, so you can watch from your phone.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that. So is that a new update for the app, or is that a brand new app? Or?
No, I mean, Livestream's had an app for a while. It's mostly for watching. I don't know if you can actually broadcast from it, but it's just a handy little thing. So if you guys are needing your fix for PhotogTV, as Ernesto has expressed to us, you can get it while you're, you know, away from the computer from your iPhone. So if you're at the doctor's office getting your prescription for a new life, you can watch us while you're in the waiting room.
Ha ha.
I'll be right there too, actually.
I know. We'll all go down. We'll carpool. How's that? So
awesome.
All right. So I'm also monitoring the chat room on the website. So if you guys are watching from the website and you've got questions, just type them in there. Looks like JT was asking about how many more minutes, but yeah, we're up. So, and Jessica's on there. So good. Glad you can see us. Deb, was that from earlier today? Yeah. So, oh hey, there's Barb. Hey, I'm just reading what Barb said. Hey, I'm Dustin. Sorry. Hey Barb, how's it going? And Jessica says she can barely hear us. How's the volume in the Hangout? Everybody can hear us okay?
It sounds good for me. Just remind everyone to go ahead and mute themselves unless they have a question or a comment. But I'm hearing everything.
Okay. Yes, these are being recorded. So if you are in the Google Hangout with us, please mute your mic unless you've got a question. You can also type them into the chat bar on the side or onto the live chat feed on our website. Oh, it's John saying, okay, hey John, how's it going? John came to our last meeting over at the collages.net class here in Austin. So anyway, so Eric, you want to kick us off with any news you came across?
Yeah. Well, first off, hope everyone's New Year is off to a great start. So we had talked about maybe discussing some, and I'll loosely use the word goals for this year, like what we want to do photography-wise. But I didn't want it to be like this is our New Year's resolution show, because that's what everyone does, and it's kind of a little cliche. So
how about things I don't want to repeat from 2010? How's that sound?
Yeah, that's
or 2011.
Mistakes I don't want to make again. So yeah, our last show was I guess maybe middle of December or beginning of December. We talked about some of our favorite images from the year. So news since then. Well, I don't know too much that's happened other than I saw that Nikon announced their brand new D4, which I think is going to get a lot of people excited in the Nikon camp, especially for some of the video features it's offering as far as matching up with what Canon has with their 5D Mark II and their upcoming 1DX. What other photo news was there? Oh, you know, if you go to photojojo.com, which is PhotogOGO.com, they are offering a protector for your lens that is shaped like a burrito. It actually looks like a burrito. So they took a picture of it. It's sitting there next to a real burrito at some burrito stand somewhere. So you might want to check that out. I'll type the URL in the chat.
Whoa! You know what I'm looking at right here is they're reselling the SX70 Polaroid.
Oh, really? Is that
Yeah.
because there was that partnership? I don't know if it was them or someone else that was getting the Polaroid film.
Well, PhotoJojo's selling the film from the Impossible Project, and it looks like it's a limited edition SX Polaroid. You can get the sonar version for $390 or the basic version for $350. The sonar, I believe, that's a kind of like a built-in, like a more accurate auto exposure thing. But I don't know if you guys are familiar with the SX70 Polaroid, but it's the original folding brown leather and chrome Polaroid camera. I've got two of them here in my studio, and they're freaking awesome. So if you guys are into, you know, film stuff and messing around with Polaroids, these are awesome cameras. I can't actually believe that they're remaking them. That's incredible.
That's cool. Check that out.
So, very cool. So, let's see here. Next thing, I was trying to come up with some news. So the next one, a little more on the silly side, but Paula Deen has announced that she has type 2 diabetes. And I just kind of thought that that was a little silly on the sense that, you know, if you're going to make comfort food for a living and have a whole TV show about it, it's pretty much going to be, you know, bad for your health. So Eric and I, we were talking about it earlier. He's like, so what does that have to do with photography or with our show being about, you know, what we're going to do new for the new year? And I'm saying, you know, one of the things that I've had to work on as far as running a studio business is, you know, making myself more accountable, whether it's for my time or promising things to clients or, you know, just getting things done in a timely fashion, and not allowing myself to get overloaded. And I think that, you know, it's one of those things where, I'm sorry, I got to pause. Is somebody watching us from a print room? That's awesome.
They're showing us a print job while
I guess so. That's Robert Money. That's pretty cool. I guess they're watching. Wow, we're getting a
Hey, how's it going?
fan base.
Hey, how's it going, Robert?
Hey, Robert, where are you working at?
What's that?
Where are you working at?
I am working on a vehicle wrap right now,
Sweet.
and also hanging out.
Afternoon, everybody.
How's it going, Nicholas? So, but back to the news. Oh, and for those that are just now joining us, these shows are recorded, so mostly just kind of a talk show. So if you've got questions, feel free to ask them. Otherwise, if you can mute your mics to prevent background noise in the recording, we would greatly appreciate it. Don't take offense if we mute your mic. It's not because we don't like you. We just want to make sure that people who are watching from our website as well as later on from live stream are able to hear all the dialogue going on. So otherwise, you can also type in your questions in the chat bar or also on our website at PhotogTV. But anyways, back to my ramble about holding yourself accountable. You know, it's like if you keep doing bad things in your business, they are going to catch up to you. So take that, Eric. I think that's the best way I could tie that one in.
And 3 sticks of butter per meal is a little bit outrageous.
Jeez, that's a little, unless you just want to go to sleep immediately, you know? I just don't know. So Jessica is asking from our websites if Robert can wrap her 97 Ford Aerostar to look like a Camaro.
Why would anybody want that?
To make her car look more badass than it already does.
Wait, this is being recorded?
Yes, these are being recorded. So this is our show that we do every week. So for those of you in the Hangouts, like I said, just mute your mics unless you've got a question pertaining to the topic of discussion. We also have time at the end of the show where we like to field questions from our audience as well. So, but anyways, so the other thing that I think some of you guys may have seen kind of floating around on Google Plus or just on the Ether stream is there's a lot of talk going on about third generation cameras. Eric and I, we were talking about there's the Nikon D4, which is kind of like, okay, it's the next big, you know, machine gun of cameras out there, and everyone's really excited about it. But over the past couple of years, I've noticed it from when I used to actually be a camera salesman, as well as just watching the technology grow very rapidly in the consumer market for cameras. The onset of, you know, mirrorless cameras basically producing, you know, professional results if the person operating it knows what they're doing. And so I don't know, Eric, what are your thoughts on mirrorless camera systems so far?
It's weird because on the one hand, you know, if I was thinking like a couple years ago, my thought was, why hadn't it happened already? What was the limitation that was keeping it happening? Because as soon as you start to see it in point and shoots, you're like, okay, well, it's obviously not it doesn't sound like a technical issue, but for some reason it's a process that has been kind of long and drawn out. I don't think that you know, and we talked about this article that Trey Ratcliffe had posted about it. I'm out of the camp necessarily that says that form factor or that technology is going to necessarily do away with the need for a higher end Canon like this. The cameras that we shoot with now, just because of for example, the technical things having to do with lenses and things like that give you a better image quality because you're letting more light in, bigger glass. I mean, there are benefits to having larger sized camera systems other than just the sensor. You know, if you put just a 35 millimeter size sensor inside of a point and shoot, you're still not going to get the same quality that you get shooting with a digital SLR. So it's an interesting thing. It would be something I'd be interested in playing with at some point, but I still think there's always going to be a need for the kind of systems we use now, I guess.
I mean, I definitely agree, especially with the bigger glass part and the sensor size and everything. I think for me, once I realized that the shutter didn't necessarily have to do with a flipping mirror anymore, all it had to do was turn the sensor on and off, and there's your shutter. You know, that all of a sudden now you take away any mechanical problems that can occur within the camera, which can be really expensive to replace, and the fact that you no longer have this, you know, annoying situation where the camera goes dark every time you take a shot. You can actually continue to view the scene as it's happening in front of you while it's capturing stills. And I think we've seen a little bit of this going on where you're, you know, pulling stills from live video, but I think at the same time you can still have a big glass camera with a big sensor inside of it, but not necessarily needing something where you've got the pentaprism and the flipping mirror. You can have something going on where maybe it is an EVF, an electronic viewfinder, or you know, something where you still have you're still able to preview it optically, just, you know, without a digital feed.
Yeah, I would say no. I agree. I agree that the future probably is mirrorless technology. I just don't agree that the future is the form factor of the small point and shoot for professional use. I mean, there are a lot of features I use on my camera that I don't ever see them putting inside a point and shoot. For example, you know, funky things we do with like pocket wizards and wiring it all around so that you can remotely trip it from a remote pocket wizard. When you're far away, you got to run this little wire from a pocket wizard down inside into the camera to trip it and that kind of thing. There's a lot of stuff there that I just don't see them putting inside of a Fuji X1 or something like that.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think that, you know, as professionals, you've got to have a larger sensor, you've got to have a larger file to work with, you know, and trying to interpolate a large file from a small sensor, you're just going to end up with a bunch of noise and loss of detail that, you know, we have to have if you're doing commercial work, if you're doing, you know, large prints or whatever, you know. So it's for me, it's interesting. I've always seen a trend where newer stuff comes out on the consumer end because I think, you know, Canon and Nikon especially have a much larger base amongst the public rather than among the pro photographers because, well, I mean, when your stuff's more expensive, the more professional it gets, the smaller your market's going to be. So they're testing out, you know, these new features like, you know, face detection that came out in a point and shoot before it ever came out in a high-end SLR. You know, and other things like being able to shoot video and pull stills at the same time. So, but anyways, I think that I just noticed Jessica was saying pocket wizards suck.
There are some that suck depending on which ones you're looking at. That's true.
I mean, if you've got the little walkie-talkie looking ones like I've got, yes, they do tend to have some issues once in a while. But I've had mine for at least 7 or 8 years, and they're still going strong. So, but anyways, I think that, you know, again, they're just testing the market. They want to see, you know, like with the Nikon J1, I think it is, or the V1, the one where it's got, you know, the detachable lenses and all this other stuff, but there's no mirror inside. I think they're testing it out. They want to see where it goes.
I mean, I'd love to see.
Can I?
Yeah, jump in.
I was just wondering, my name's Mark from England. Can I interject? And what does everybody think about 35mm cameras as opposed to digital? You know for a fact 35mm is just totally lossless. You can't do any better. But we have been drip fed from 1 megabyte pixel, which was like 10 years ago, and now basically we're only up to 14 on a normal run-of-the-mill standard camera, unless you're prepared to pay $40,000 or something. You know, does anybody disagree with that or not?
You talking about the fact that the sensor sizes are staying the same, but the pixels are going up?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah. You know, I would. Well, I'll tell you, I would if I was going to spend money and I was looking at like a new camera, like a 1DX or the new Nikon, I would be more apt to purchase one if it didn't have all the bells and whistles, but just had a better sensor and it actually kind of breached into the entry-level medium format range. If I'm going to drop, you know, 7,000-8,000, I'm looking at maybe that 1DX, but I'm also looking at a Phase 1 or something like that can kind of get me into that better quality thing, because to me that's, you know, just dynamic range within the sensor, just better image quality is something that they get better at in terms of ISO. And then we'll have to see with these new cameras, because for example, I know the 1DX has 18 megapixels versus the 5D's 21, so they're dropping the count. The sensor size is still 35 millimeters, so maybe the quality be better. Maybe they're actually using bigger sensor pixels or whatever that is. But I agree, the quality gap is something they could improve on.
I think the other thing that a lot of people never remember to bring up is the fact that when you start messing with your sensor size, things that people never talk about is how it affects your focal lengths. You know, what does it do to the lenses that you have? And people who have multiple format sensors, but they can still use the same lenses. For example, I've got a 5D Mark II. I also have a 1D Mark III. They're two different sensor sizes, but they use the same lenses. Well, all of a sudden now you're affecting my minimum focusing distance based on what I want to crop into that picture. So I may have to get further back with my crop censored 1D Mark III with a 50 millimeter lens, whereas with my 5D Mark II I can get in closer because there's a bigger sensor back there, and I can get in closer and still fill the frame. So if I'm shooting at the same aperture, same shutter speed, I've increasingly reduced my depth of field by being able to get closer, because my focusing distance got less with the same lens, but because I had a bigger sensor. So I think that depending on, there's just one thing you can't get around, and that's physics. And so a bigger sensor allows you to get in closer with shorter lenses and still get that depth of field that you're looking for, or longer lenses. But small sensors, and they're just upping the megapixels. I just don't see how they're going to be able to work around getting that natural shallow depth of field that a lot of people look for in whether it's portraits or whatnot.
There's no point having 14 megapixels if you're going close to something. Take a photograph of it, then you only end up with 2 megapixels. You know what I mean? And it's like, wow, hang on, why don't we all just photograph in macro then, in that case? You know?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And one thing that Robert brought up in the chat box there was talking about the Lytro camera. This is something that has been released, I guess, over the past 3 months or so. For those of you that aren't familiar with the Lytro camera, basically it's a camera that has claimed to have the technology to take a square format picture and then allow you to change the depth of field at a later time in the image. My suspicion is that it's actually taking multiple images and combining them in a flash-based type of image format, which you can really only use on a screen, like a computer screen, rather than on paper. And you actually can you can touch in the photo where you want the image to be in focus. They claim that the technology has advanced to where they can capture all of the light spectrum around all the objects framed in the shot of the camera, and then store all that data in the sensor onto the memory file or the image file, and then you can play with it at a later time to figure out where where you want the picture to be focused. So what are your thoughts on that one, Eric? Have you?
Yeah, it seems interesting. As the demos I've seen so far, it's somebody taking a picture and then touching the back of the screen on the back of the camera to kind of indicate where they want the focus to be. So you're touching this little thumbnail kind of preview stamp size thing to figure out where you want the focus to happen. So I'm guessing at some point that technology will move to some sort of software application as far as that company is concerned, so you can do that kind of processing later when you have a bigger screen. It's interesting, but I wouldn't, on a commercial shoot, I wouldn't take it and then use it and say, okay, well, we'll worry about the focus later, and just trust that the camera's gonna work wherever I happen to. I need to see it right then. Everyone needs to see it right then. So you're adding an extra layer because that process needs to happen. It might be quick. So at this point, it's an interesting thing as far as a preview kind of a technology. Maybe it'll work its way. And I suspect ultimately their goal is to get to license that technology to manufacturers so that they can get more of a broader appeal for it.
Can I just ask? I always reminisce about the past, and why can't we still do like the old days where you set the camera up on the tripod? You've got your little ometers in front of you telling you what the sun's doing and stuff like that. And even if it takes you 3.5 hours to get that shot just when it's right, I'm prepared to do that rather than put it into Photoshop.
That's a great point. The issue with that is that the people would look at that and say that 3.5 hours is they've got to get that image up online and they got to get it shared and all that kind of stuff. So that's like the mentality we're in today. Is that
once you have taken the original, then you can put it into whatever format you want, as long as you've got that original master.
Oh, I agree. I'm just saying that the mentality today, I think, among a lot of photographers is one of expediency in terms of they don't appreciate the time it takes to get necessarily to get the best shot right there. They're more interested in sharing it, getting it out the door, and getting on to the next one.
I think it all goes back to. I think it all goes back to if you go out there and you claim yourself as a professional, then it's your job to pick the right tool for the job. So if you're out there getting landscapes, then yes, of course, you're going to have to wait for that opportune moment where the sun's just right, or if you're doing something where the time allows for that. But a lot of times, someone may be doing a completely different type of photography. So I think it's just being available to know what tools are available to you and bringing the right tool to the job. But that kind of, I think, sort of concludes our news section. We're moving on to the next part of the show, which is going to be talking about new practices for our studio businesses in 2012, kind of avoiding any pitfalls that may have occurred over 2011, and so on and so forth. And also, I just want to reiterate, for those of you in the Hangouts, if you've got a question or whatever, just type it in the chat box or hold it towards the end. We will take time to field any questions. So, Eric, why don't you kind of start us out with some of your 2012 either predictions or new practices?
I have no predictions.
No predictions.
No predictions. No. Things I want to work on more for this year. I need to get a little bit more into the on the planning. So on my shoots, I want them to be a little bit less actually reactionary, but a little bit more thought out in terms of the lighting. Like I'll go with a general idea. I did this this past weekend. We did a shoot. There's a guy in town that has this Dodge Challenger, which he had custom painted to look like a Captain America car. So I got us at we were at the hangar at the airport. We were going to shoot this thing, and I had it in my mind. I had sketched out on this piece of paper this image I want, and I went to go take it, and because I was at a certain focal length, I was a little bit wide. I got some effects in it that I hadn't thought of in terms of okay, well, he's a little bit smaller in the frame. The guy is standing next to the car than I would have wanted. So I get home, start to look at that, and kind of process it, and okay, how can I do better the next time? So on my end, I want to spend more time on the prep and the planning, not just like, okay, here's the cool location, and here's the time we're going to do it, and here's the lights I'm going to set up, but here's why I'm going to make decisions related to lenses and what I expect that to look like when we get there, so that I'm not, just accepting what we get or trying something else because it didn't work out exactly the way I planned. That's a big one for me. And I guess probably to keep up with QuickBooks a little bit better is another one.
I think that's on everyone's list.
Yeah, I'm not a good accountant, that's for sure.
See, that's one of the great things about, music and photography and that, You sit there in your house and you think to yourself, hang on, I've had a lovely idea. I'm going to take this photograph. So all you need to do is sit down with a piece of paper in front of you and say, right, where is the photograph going to be? Down by the river? Is it going to be a shot of a temple or whatever? Just write down the ideas. Then take the tools that you need along to that location and just sit and wait and watch, just for little occasions. And even if you sit there with your little remote control little button on the end of the thing, you can just go, oh, I caught that. Oh, damn, missed it. You know what I mean? But it might come round again. You know what I mean? I think it's just having time, basically, isn't it? And that is the beauty of photography. It's like fishing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think one of the other things too that looking back over the past year, I've been spending pretty much, well, one of the reasons why we haven't done the show every week for the past month or so was mostly because of the holidays, but also because we've been busy getting caught up on either holiday family portrait sessions, or for me it's been getting all these wedding albums put together for all the weddings that I shot back in the fall. And also, yeah, thank you, Ron. I've been having a lot of house renovations as well. But in retrospect, looking back, I've really observed myself kind of being extremely unorganized with my time, and a lot like what Eric was talking about as far as being reactionary in the photo shoot. I feel like my business on the back end has been very reactionary, where all of a sudden I'm getting emails from clients saying, hey, just checking on seeing how long the design for the wedding album is going to take. And then all of a sudden it's like I got to stop everything, go work on the album design, or, call up the design company who's in charge of it. Or, it's almost like it's been more of a passive approach lately than actually being assertive or, just being on top of my game. And I think we all kind of tend to have a situation where things pile up and we sort of lose that sense of, okay, this is a business and I'm supposed to be the one running it, not it running me. And I think that a lot of us, when we kind of go in our cave trying to get all this stuff done, we get really depressed. We don't get any sunlight. We're not doing shoots, which is what we really want to be doing. We're busy doing tedious work.
Well, I think this is about the right time, I think, in your life, Dustin, when you need to start expanding and delegating, okay? Take somebody else on, whether it be a little apprentice who will do all the menial tasks which he will find really interesting to do, yeah? And meanwhile, you can concentrate on the projects that are going to bring the money in. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, I definitely agree. I think that the biggest priority for us as business owners is to do the two things, which are in marketing your business and and shooting. Dealing with clients, that can be something that you can delegate out. Doing your album design, that's something that I already do delegate out. Even my retouching for my clients, I don't do my own retouching anymore because what it costs for me to pay someone to do it is far less than what it costs for me to spend my own time doing it. But I think that that's something that all of us can take the time to look at the things that we don't like doing and figuring out, okay, well, who can I send it to that can do a good job for a decent price?
Obviously.
So, Eric, what else are you wanting to change or improve at Doggett Studios?
Well, let's see. We talked about, it's part of that, and it kind of gets into the whole goal thing. Like, I hate being the one to say, okay, at the end of the year, here are my goals for the year. But there is something to the idea of, here's where I want to be at the end of the year in terms of, here's like a big master plan. I would like at the end of the year to have done this many shoots or shot for these publications or whatever. One of my failings or weaknesses is, and it's kind of really backwards, I tend to love to read and try out like productivity applications. If there's something new that comes out, I'm like a new task thing or a to-do list or whatnot, I'm all over it and want to give it a shot and move everything over to there, and then a couple weeks later go move it all over to something else, and so I get in this kind of media / technology sinkhole where I'm trying everything out, reading all these blog posts, and lately some of the stuff I've been reading is talking about thinning all that down, that your job is not to know everything about everything. So pick the blogs or the feeds that are important to you and let the other ones go, even if it's just for a while, just to see how much you can you go without reading those. And I mean, I've got some, and I'm sure you do too, some blogs that I subscribe to that I've got 70 some odd things in there that I haven't, just for one blog that I haven't read. And you look at it and you start to feel overwhelmed. And this is like something that's not even really, it doesn't have as large of a contributing factor to your business as, say, having a meeting or finishing up client work. So, yeah, on my list also for this year is to kind of trim down the feeds, the websites I go to, and see what happens from there. How many Dustin, do you subscribe to? How many websites or feeds?
I'm not someone who uses Google Reader. I know everyone's like freaking out. But the blogs that I pay attention to the most are usually going to be other photographers that I find inspiration from when it comes to photo, just shots, creativity, stuff like that. And there's a couple of them out there. But most of the time I'm less looking for inspiration and more just looking for news on what's going on with technology, what's going on in the industry. So a lot of times I pay a lot of attention to Mashable. I also tend to, check out, PhotoJojo once in a while because I love the gadgets on there, and it reminds me that photography can be something fun, not just for business. But I gotta admit, I don't spend a whole lot of time on blogs because my own blog is getting neglected. So, but I would definitely, I do understand the importance of, kind of feeding your creative, your creative soul, feeding your brain with new knowledge and what's going on. It is important that you kind of pull your head out of the sand once in a while to see what's going on around you. But at the same time, I challenge all of you to think about it like this. When it comes to, how much time do you spend on social media? How much time do you spend reading other blogs? How much time do you spend photoshopping? All those things. And just imagine that you've got let's say you've got a video camera on a tripod in the corner of the room pointed towards you. So it's recording you while you're working on the computer. And how many hours of you sitting at the computer is that camcorder going to capture? Is it 6 hours? Is it 5 hours? Is it only 1 hour? Is all those hours that you spend at that computer, are they really helping you stay on top of the tasks that keep your business going? If you're a commercial shooter, maybe you need to be stopping by your favorite magazine or, calling up some of your favorite clients and thanking them for their business. If you're a wedding and portrait photographer, maybe it's, taking out your favorite wedding planner for lunch. Marketing is also a very in-person thing. It's not just everything that happens on the internet. So I think that, I think the point really is just kind of making sure that you make effective use of your time and not ramble on like I do.
Yeah, they're actually, and I'm sure they have these on the PC side, but on the Mac side, and I can't remember the name of it, but there are apps out there that will track They sit up in your little menu bar and they track what you're doing. And so at the end of the day or the end of the week, you can go on there and say, "Oh, crap! I spent 3 hours today working in Photoshop, but 8 hours in Chrome. What was that about?"
Well, actually, Deb on our website in the live chat feed brought up a name of an app. Let me scroll back here and see what she said. Let's see, what is it? Activity tracker. Essentially, I guess it's some kind of software that allows you to. It plugs into iGoogle, which is like a Google homepage that you can create, and you just log in, I guess, what you're doing at that moment, and when you move on to another task, you update it. But I think that's something that we all kind of forget to do. See how much time we're actually wasting marketing on Facebook. I mean, yeah, marketing on Facebook is essential, but it can really be a time suck.
And kind of going along with that, I've been in this habit for a while. Trying to get out of it is using your email inbox as a task list or a to-do list, and just staring at all these things sitting in your inbox and getting overwhelmed that you need to take care of them. So I've been working on the habit of twice a day, morning and evening, going through the inbox, deleting everything that needs to be out of there, and then taking the things that are actual tasks and putting them into a little to-do app so that I can have that empty inbox and not just have things staring at me, because it does affect your day. If you've planned to do something and something pops up all of a sudden, it's kind of hard to resist that temptation to go deal with that, even though it's not that immediate, but in your mind, you make it, to be that.
Mm-hmm. And actually,
I think that. Sorry, sir.
Oh, it's okay. I was just going to say, Deb brought up another good point, which is something that I'm a big proponent of, is setting up email times. Like, what times during the day do you actually have set aside to go through your emails, to respond to emails, to pull from those emails what needs to be added to your to-do list? I think going back to the whole reactionary approach when it comes to your business, a big mistake that we all make is getting an email from a client asking about when can they expect that print order or something like that, or trying to meet that deadline. All of a sudden you drop what you're doing, which you could be doing something productive at that time, and then rushing over to do something else. And so all of a sudden now you're going back and forth, and you've completely lost all productivity for that time period. So setting up maybe 2 times a day, let's say 9 o'clock in the morning, you spend 45 minutes to an hour going through all your emails, responding to them, everything you need to do, updating your to-do list. And then any emails that you receive throughout the day, you don't respond to them until maybe 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And I think the other plus that I always tell people is that if you respond to people's emails right away, you've just told them that they've got 24/7 access to you all the time. And that's not the kind of impression that you want to give people.
I know, but the thing is, there's a courtesy etiquette, isn't there? You know what I mean? If I'm saying to you, "Hey, Dustin, them lovely photographs you took of my wedding, yes? I've sent you 3 emails now. I sent you one in the morning, one at lunchtime, and then one in the evening, okay? Could you please have the courtesy of responding to one of them? If you do not respond to one of them every day, I will take my business elsewhere." Okay?
Oh, sure. I'm saying that say they do send you 3 emails between 10 a.m. to 1 a.m. That's fine. You can follow it up with an email at 2 p.m. and say, "Hey, I received your emails. Thank you for letting me know about your concern. Here's what's going on with those projects, blah, blah, blah." And, just wrap it all up in one single email, rather than having the whole day being spent going back and forth with this client instead of, taking care of the other clients that you have.
Mm-hmm. I mean, this is when you decide, as we were talking earlier on about expand and delegate. Do you get yourself your own PA? Somebody who will do all these menial little tasks for you. You know what I mean? Like checking your emails, on the hour. Maybe and all you've got to do is minimum wage. Yes, okay, you do that. Okay, yes, fantastic. At least she or he who is reading the email says to you sometime on that day, oh, do you know Mark Wilson who had the lovely wedding photographs? Yes, he was just wondering when they will be done. And then you could say, oh, we'll just put him back to the queue. Yes, he's not going to pay properly anyway, you know what I mean?
I think one other thing too, and again, Deb's always commenting through our site here, so
Like
she's always got really good points.
situation.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you know, there's software out there too. Like I use ShootQ that allows you to automatically respond to clients when they inquire about upcoming weddings through your website, and they get an email within 5 seconds saying, "Thank you for contacting us. We'll be happy to touch base with you as soon as someone is available." So they know that you got their email, and that someone will be in touch with them.
But you know what's nice sometimes is having the personal touch, the one-on-one touch. So I can tell other people in my family or business, yes, I have spoken to Dustin. Dustin said, Mark, can you please give me at least a week? I am rushed off my feet. I'm doing this all by myself. I'll say, yeah, Dustin, if you can just roughly give us an idea, is it going to be 6 months or 3 years down the line? And I get it. Just give me some kind of time scale. You know what I mean? And basically, that's all people want, isn't it? You know yourself, when you're waiting for something to deliver, it's like being a little kid at Christmas. You know, it's like, oh, when's it coming? When's it coming? No, it's not coming.
No, yeah, that's definitely a good point. You know, when it comes to running this, you got to have that personal touch. Otherwise, you know, people will not want to deal with you, and people are where we get our business from. At the same time, I think it's a balance. You have to keep yourself in balance. Otherwise, if you get too tilted in one direction, then a lot of the other aspects of your business, as well as your other clients, are going to get ignored. I think that is kind of like the big theme for today's episode is, you know, finding that balance, because for a lot of us, it can get really crazy just before the holidays. And then, of course, we have time that we spend with our own families during the holidays. So January and February especially are spent kind of taking a look back, seeing, you know, where we can improve what we needed to do in 2011, and where we can apply that in this year. So Eric, what else do you have as far as any other things that maybe, you know, happened in 2011 that you would like to improve upon for this year?
You know, I have to clean my lenses more often, probably is a big one.
So you just shoot like me. You shoot wide open all the time. You don't have to.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Nothing's sharp anyways.
Sharpness later, clean first.
Can you remember during the 20s and 30s when they used to do the lovely stocking over the camera that would make the lady look all lovely and silky and
Oh,
smooth?
yeah. Throw some Vaseline on the front of it. That was another one. People used to do that.
We'll just go back to the burrito wrap from photo.
Yeah. There you go. Well, I tell you what, we're getting close up on our time here, but I did want to open it up before we wrapped up. If anyone had any either questions for us, or if they had any comments or things that they were going to work on this year, I'd love to hear about that too. So anybody out there?
Ernesto, you got anything? He's shaking his head. For those of you that are new to the show, Ernesto is our #1 fan. He has never failed to be at an episode, I believe.
Maybe one or two.
Only when the coffee shop was closed. That was when he missed it.
That's true. Oh, yeah. I mean, he even comes in when he's sick. You know, I mean, that's dedication. I will say this too. One of my, I'll use the word resolutions, is to make sure that we provide you a more diverse content for PhotogTV for 2012. 2011 was our first year really to kind of start this. I mean, we started. Eric, when did we start? September, August?
Let's see. Well, we just wrapped up 10, so if we were doing one a week, that would have been September, late September, maybe beginning of October.
Yeah, like late September or something like that. But I think that One of the things is, trying to get some guest speakers for you guys, some people that are of interest to you, whether their work is inspirational or whether they've got some cool products that they sell. So we'll try and get some people on the show. We've had some whispers from people at Creative Live that would be interested in being on the show, as well as people from some of the vendors that you guys may use, like On One Software or Collages or anybody else out there. So one of the things for us is that us trying to come up with all these ideas every week can be a little exhaustive. So we are always really big on crowdsourcing from you guys stuff that you might like to see. This can include demos on shooting stuff. We've actually done live demos on here before. So if you have ideas, you can definitely tweet them to us at PhotogTV or through the websites or in Google+. I do actually want to say Barbara Cameron, she said staying away from drama in the forums is her goal and working more on marketing.
Yeah.
I do think that, I don't know, have you had any experience, Eric, with trolls and stuff in the photography forums? I don't really participate a lot in photography forums.
I did a lot when I was doing weddings several years ago. There were certain forums I'd go to. They got really, not so much like nasty with each other, but like really overly critical and to the point where I was like, okay, it's not helping me. You get to a point where you start to do good work and you grow, and then you start to not worry too much about it, because in the end, any picture you make really can be critiqued by somebody else. Somebody can find something wrong with every single image that I make.
But so long as it's constructive criticism.
But it's subjectively constructive. That's the problem.
Yeah.
It's
well, I mean, there's some people who go into a room just hell bent on saying, I'm going.
Yeah, it's
or whatever.
It's constructive. It might be constructive. It's just from their perspective. And in the end, what's important to me are my clients. Are they happy? Do they love it? Then I've done well with it. So I haven't. That was more like when I was doing, like I said, when I was doing the wedding work on the commercial side. I haven't really been too much on many forums, other than Google Plus, I guess, which is probably one of the new ones for that.
Well, yeah, definitely, it's more interactive for sure. I mean, look, here we are. But when I first got started, I think I was on DWF and Photo for the People, and what's the one David J started? I can't remember.
Was that Open Source Photo? Open
Source Photo, yeah. And, like they're saying in the live chat stream, Barb was saying, that people get on there and, or Deb was saying, someone who's been in business for 30 years and they're dissing on the young folks and stuff like that. It's ridiculous. I think that, as a creative business, it's part of your intellectual and creative health to be selective about what you take in intellectually, based on what forums you decide to visit, what people you surround yourself with, what sort of input you're willing to take in, so that it can be processed, turned around, and turned into a product that you sell back to your clients. If you do nothing but just take in sour notes from people who've been in the business for 50 years, then you're going to produce nothing but sour work.
Totally agree, my friend. Totally.
Thank you, Ron. We appreciate that. Ron says he likes us.
Is there any chance, just this is the first time that I've been in the room, but is there any chance for any of you to show me some of the photographs that or the work you have done, yeah?
Well, one of the things that's cool with the Hangouts is you can circle anybody that's in the rooms right now by, if you hover over their thumbnail and click on their name, it'll pull up their profile. So you'll be able to check their profile and check their work and all that good stuff.
I thought with the, have you seen the little screen share button at the top of the page there, yeah?
Oh, yeah, we've done that before. We did, yeah, we've done that. We've done, our last episode was kind of like, show us your best photos of the year, and we'll turn showing some stuff. So we'll definitely do that again soon.
Yeah, we got some good responses on that episode. But again, with the format of the shows, we try to be diverse, where some days we'll do like a live demo, or we'll do a Photoshop tutorial. And then some days we'll do like, hey, show us, your favorite work, and then, we all compliment on it, that kind of stuff. So
See, it's great. It gives the audience out there, you know, if maybe he's the one to send a picture in or something like that, and it appears on the Dustin and Eric Photo G show and stuff.
Photog TV, yep.
Photog TV, is it?
And Ron, yeah, the screen share button will allow you to let us see what's on your screen. You were asking for the inside the Hangout here. So if you don't have a camera, that's okay. You can definitely show us your pictures when we have an episode set aside for that. But anyway, so I guess, you know, we're coming up on the hour, so we're going to wrap it up. It's definitely great to be back. I've been looking forward to this for the past couple weeks now. Eric and I have been like, okay, we've got to get the lineup, we've got to get all this stuff done and everything. So I hope you guys have enjoyed our new site format. For those of you that are watching from the actual website and not from the Hangout, let's see, Eric, is there anything that you want to say before we close it up?
No, just glad to see everyone. And if you have some suggestions, feel free to send them to us either via our page on Google Plus, or you can email them at photogtv@gmail.com.
I always forget we have email.
We do have email.
We do use email.
We had to use it to sign up for everything, but you know, we don't actually use it for email. That's it. But yeah, send us some if you have any ideas or tips or anything like that. Let us know that way, and we can try to incorporate them for the year. We're going to try to be a little bit more proactive with our. We have like a little list. A little Google Docs list of show ideas and interview people that we want to talk to, or the people that have already said they'd be interested in doing an interview. So we just have to work out the logistics of that.
And one of the features that we will add to our website is a calendar of our schedule. So you'll know what's coming up next week. You'll know what's coming up 2 weeks from now, stuff like that. We just got to get on it. So. All right. Well, again, everybody, thank you so much for coming. It's great to be back. Hope you guys had a wonderful holiday season, a restful holiday season. But it's time to get back to work. And all right. So thanks for watching.
Hey, thank you, my friend. It's one of the best professional shows I've ever seen on G+.
Thanks.
He hasn't seen very many shows, actually. This is his first time in a Hangout.
All right. And everybody watching on the website, thank you very much.